As you may be aware, Android apps tend to be free and they tend to have ads in them to monetize them. It's a more common way of making money on Android than it is on iOS. And if you get a popular app, then using Admob to monetize it is often more lucrative than charging for downloads. Obviously, I'd thoroughly recommend trying out both and see which works best for you. But either way, if you're going to be working with ads, then Admob is your basic option. So it's by Google, so it's solid, very widely used, and it's reasonably easy to integrate into your Android apps. So I'm not going to show you here how to sign up for Admob. It's pretty straightforward, and you just put your details of your app and all the settings, etc. We're going to focus instead of setting up Admob in Android Studio. And there are a few slight complexities there, so do watch carefully. We'll start as always, with a new project, blank activity, etc. Okay, so now we're all set up. We need to add an extra SDK or software development kit. And we do this in tools. We've done it a couple of times before. So Android and SDK Manager. And then we're going to go over to SDK Tools. And the SDK that we're particularly interested in is the Google repository, this one here. So you can see we've already got it installed, but there's an update available. So I'm going to do the update. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's generally a good idea. And if you haven't got the Google repository installed at all, then definitely select it there. And then just click OK. And then that will install the latest version. It'll take a little while to download and then install. All right, that took about a minute or two for me. But that's now installed. So you can click Finish. And then that will take you back to your app. Now, the next change we need to make is in the app Gradle scripts. We saw this before when we added a Google Maps activity to our Uber app, and we actually noticed that it incorrectly added the code for the Google Maps SDK, and we had to fix the code to make it work. Now here, because we haven't added an activity or anything, it doesn't know that we want to use Admob, so we need to add the dependency ourselves. So make sure you use the app build.gradle, not the project. It's definitely the app that we need here. And then we want to compile com.google.android.gms. I'm not actually certain what GMS stands for, but if anyone knows, post it in the discussions. And then play -services -ads, and then the version, and I'd go for 7.8.0. And then you need to resync the app to bring that in. And it's a really good idea if you spell the word compile correctly. Let's try that again. Okay, that seemed to have compiled fine, so that's looking promising. Our next step is to add the internet requests in the manifest. So we know how to do that now. So users permission, and we want internet. And for this one, we also need access network state. So that will allow us to be able to tell whether or not the user's internet is active. We need a couple of other changes here as well. So underneath application, add a metadata tag. Now this is required to use Google Play services, of which Admob is a part. Again, when we've used it in the past, it gets added automatically when we create, for example, the Google Maps activity, but this time we need to add it for ourselves. So we need to add a piece of metadata with a name of com.google.android.gms.version. And then we need to give it a value of an integer / Google Play Services version. And then we close the meta tag, and that will be provided by the SDK that we've included in the app in this compile here. So we don't need to work out that version ourselves. And finally, under activity here, we're going to add a new activity for the add, which is an add activity. So it's going to have a name of com.google.android.gms.ads and then .ads activity. It's going to have some config changes. And these are when the keyboard appears and disappears, because this ad is going to appear at the bottom of the screen. So it's going to be affected by the keyboard appearing and disappearing. It's also going to be affected by the screen layout and the screen orientation, as well as the UI mode, the screen size, and the smallest screen size. So a lot of options there. And then we also add the theme that we're going to use. So Android theme, and this is going to be a transparent one. So that's Android style / theme dot translucent. And then we can close that. And that's all the options that we need to set for the add activity, but we should really call it add activity rather than ads activity. So there we go. We've now got our new activity to contain our ad. Next step, and we're not too far off now, but we now need to add a special ID known as an ad unit ID, which will identify this particular ad in this particular app so that we can track its success and Google knows what account this ad is in, etc. So these are in values and strings. So we've edited these a little bit before, but this time we're going to add a new string with a name of banner ad unit ID. And this is going to be the standard string for testing your banner ads. So you can use exactly the same one as mine, which is going to be ca.app-pub 3940 2560 9994 2544 /6300 978 and then 111. So you need to get that exactly right. Once you're going live, then you're going to replace that with your live ID, which you get from your Google Admob account. All right, only 2 steps left. The next is to add the ad in our activity main.xml. So we'll do this down here. We'll get rid of our text view. We don't need that anymore, but you could leave it in if you want to. It doesn't matter. And we're going to add in, first of all, a namespace for our relative layout, which will allow us to use the ad. And to do that, we use XML namespace and then : ads is equal to, and then HTTP, and that one there. So schemas.android.com/apk/res auto. And this just allows us to use the appropriate resolution for the screen that we're working with. And when I say us, I mean Google when it's giving the ad to the user. So now let's add our ad view in. So we use com, there it is, it knows which one we want, com.google.android.gms.ads.addView. And then we can actually use our code to set the width. So we'll have wrap content. Then it will be empty if there's no ad, and wrap content for the height as well. There's some documentation, fantastic. I won't be using that right now. And I'm going to add some other options as well. So we'll first off have center horizontal being true. So it's centered horizontally. And we can align it where we like, but I'm going to align it in the usual place, which is parent bottom. If that makes you laugh, then shame on you. It does make me laugh slightly, I must confess. And then we're now going to add a couple of these options, the ads options. So first off, add size. And this is going to be a banner. And then add unit ID, which is what we entered before in strings. So to get that, we use @string/banner add unit ID. There we go. So now we've added that to our code, and you can see we've got ads by Google there, which is promising. And let's just check. We need to give that an ID. So I'll just call it add view. And our final step, you'll be pleased to hear, is just to write the code in the onCreate method to request an ad for our ad view. So first of all, let's get our ad view. So I'll call it add view, and that's going to be an ad view. And we're going to find it by its ID, r.id.addView. And then we're going to create an add request. Called add request, which is going to be a new add request dot builder dot build. So that will build our add request. You notice I've got an error there. There's no builder method in add request. That's because by default it imports com.google.ads.addRequest, which is a different version, and it's an older version. We're not using that version. You really want to use com.google.android.gms.add.request. There we go. So that's the newer way of doing it, but just make sure that you're importing the right class there. And finally, and I do mean finally, we take our add view and we load an ad. And the simple ad that we're going to load is add request. Simple as that. So quite a large setup process there. But hopefully all of that made sense. We downloaded the new SDK, which obviously you wouldn't need to do every time, but you do need to make sure that it's in your build.gradle file to make sure that that's picked up. Then we edited the Android manifest to get the necessary permissions and to add some metadata to pass our Google Play Services version. and we added an activity for us to put the ad into, and we added all the various settings needed for that. Then we went through to strings.xml and we added our banner ad unit ID, which is just our generic test one, and that would be updated to a live one when you're ready to go live. Then we went to activity main.xml and added a namespace for the ad and also the code for the ad view itself. And then finally in main activity.java, we created an ad view to link to the ad view in activity main, and then we created an ad request. We had to edit the ad request class over there to get that to work properly, and then we loaded our ad into the ad view. So let's take a look. There it is. There's our 320 by 50 test banner. Fantastic. So that's as simple as it is. Obviously, if you want to customize your ads, then you can change the various options that we've added. And when you want to go live, then you'll need to change the banner ad unit ID to the one given to you by Google. But that's how to add Admob ads to your apps and hopefully start monetizing them once you've got some success, good reviews, and some large numbers of downloads. So I wish you all the best with that and hope you manage to monetize some successful apps really soon.